It's a good thing you're ready to roll because...
Are we live? Are we live?
Uh-oh.
I mean, we are, but I don't know if I want to put your face up there yet, Colin.
Well, that's okay because
You're
it's
even
covered
looking-
by this lovely mic stand here. So.
Yeah, and you're looking at your phone anyway. Are you even ready for
Do
these
you know
people
why?
who are
Because
listening?
I am hyping up
Do you
the
realize
world
that
of Twitter for our latest podcast.
you're hyping it up? Meanwhile, Verbo is here in the flesh. This is not a Skype call anymore. You can't be this rude.
I'm raising the volume.
You said you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I lied.
What? Get out of here, man.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to theScore
Bad
esports
start.
podcast. We're giving it to you on a Tuesday. We're doubling up this week.
Giving it to you?
Giving it to you on a Tuesday. We've got we're
Sex
really
appeal
excited to
galore.
have a sick guest, not on Skype,
He's
in
not,
the flesh.
and he's not physically sick. He's just awesome.
He's just making us sick because he's so sick.
You need to stop.
We've got Stefano Disalvo. You know him better as Verbo. He is an Immortals Overwatch support player. Verbo, Stefano, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you in the office. We're super glad you come down, take that nice Uber ride from all the way up north of Toronto.
That 1 hour Uber.
Ooh, yeah. Lots of time
Wow.
to prepare.
Hey man, he was here bright and early. Like I got in just before 10, which is unusual for me. I'm usually at 10 o'clock. And Verbo just sat there on time. If you're not 5 minutes early, you're late. And this guy showed up punctual. What a young professional.
So he actually got here earlier than I did. Me
Yeah.
me and my boss walked in, and he was literally sitting there.
I'm gonna admit I went and grabbed a copy because I figured for sure there'd be a little bit of a delay.
I also
Not-
figured
not
that.
a personal judgment on you, Verbo, just my experience with esports players in the past. I
Yeah,
was like,
what-
I got enough time. to
It's
get a
so
copy.
early in LA right now. What the hell?
Credits
Or
to the
San
Uber
Antonio.
driver.
Oh, true.
Oh,
He
what
knew his-
rating did you give him?
5 stars.
Ooh, 5 stars, baby.
It's a heavy match. It's a heavy match. If he were a stat at the end of the Overwatch game, what would he get? The most kills, objective kills, most time?
Most time spent on the
gold
payload,
medal.
right?
I'd give him-
100% of the time.
I'd give him gold objective time for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
objective
absolutely,
time.
100%.
All right, good.
Like he didn't pull the car over and go to Tim Hortons or something. Get off the objective.
Now, before I start farming tips for my quick play game from you, let's just get into a little bit.
He needs them too.
Yeah, it's true. You've never even seen me play, man. Let's get into a little bit of who you are and how you came to be on Immortals.
So I'm 17. My name's Stefano. I'm still in high school. The way I came onto Immortals is I basically made 2 of my teams. I eventually got recognized on a live stream on a tournament, and then Immortals decided to give me a trial, and here I am.
Damn.
Good trial. Tell me about the trial. What happened?
So I actually have a good friend that was on my other team. That was a coach, and he know me. So that team that I was on fell apart. That coach basically reached out to Nomi and said, "Hey, I know a really good Lucio," because this is when Immortals was looking for a Lucio. And then they basically said, "Okay, we'll watch. We'll take a look at him." And then they decided to give me a 2-week tryout. Tried out for them for 2 weeks. Ended up getting the contract after we won the monthly melee in December. Yeah.
Nice. So once again, you're 17 years old.
Yeah.
And you are still in high school. How exactly is that working with your professional esports career?
It wasn't working in December. I
Okay.
mean, I would wake up in the morning at 6 a.m., go to school until 3, come home, scrim until midnight. I mean, there was like no time to go with friends, no time to even like take lunch break.
Did you do your math homework?
I tried, man. I tried.
He's
I
being
mean,
very earnest about this. Okay?
I mean, my math wasn't the greatest. You know what I mean? But
I'm in journalism. I understand.
Yeah, we're all in that same boat, I think. Yeah. So what changed for you? Like, are you still, presumably you're still in high school?
yeah, I'm still in high school. I don't actually go to a traditional school anymore. I do online courses. So
And that's a direct result of you being in esports, being on Immortals.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I couldn't balance going to a traditional school and scrimming and doing the boot camp and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I have to do online.
You mentioned that one of the other things that was pulling you away from was like socializing, like hanging out with friends and stuff. When you're 17, that's kind of a big part of your life. So are you able to do that at all now?
Yes and no. When I have the chance to go with friends, I do. Okay. It's actually funny that you say that because when I first made my team, like this was back in February, I was like super strict. I was like, you know what, I'm going to make this team. This team's going to go far. And they were all like 20, 25 years old, right? And I was like 17 leading this team, making the team. And the first thing I said was, you know what, guys, like no girlfriends. You know, we got to focus, right?
Did you actually enforce that though?
Yeah, no, I was like, guys, like I'm going to be real with you. If we're going to actually go somewhere and we're going to do something with this team, like no girlfriends, like I'm being legit right now.
How far would you take it to sabotage a relationship though?
And then this guy comes up to me. He's like, I think he's 23. His name's Firefox. And he goes, the last thing I expected was a 17-year-old to tell me not to have a girlfriend.
Man.
or maybe in the new age of VR and whatnot, you're just married to your computer and therefore don't need a girlfriend.
Oh boy, that seems intimidating.
So I'm an old man essentially when it comes to esports, and all my friends like kind of get it. They don't really understand. My parents definitely don't. Like people in my world are kind of like, what is this that you do, this esports thing? But for you, when you changed your high school and when you still hang out with friends, like what do they think about like, oh yeah, I play Overwatch. It's like my profession.
So I only had like one good friend that really understood where I was coming from, and he was the only like friend that I had that really understood. That's why he was my only good friend. When people,
fuck them all. I don't think he quite said that. But.
But when like other people in my school found out what I was doing, you know, they saw the article of me getting signed to Immortals. They were asking me like, "What exactly are you doing?" And I basically told them I play games professionally. And they're like, "Oh, you know, do you you play games and then you help develop them?" And because that's what they think it is, right? And I told them, no, you know, it's a hard idea to wrap your head around, like going on stage, playing games in front of people. Like, who's gonna go watch you play video games, right?
No, 100%. That is the question you always get, right?
I guess so. I mean, like I just like I come from the traditional sports side, you know, back here in Toronto. But when I signed up here at theScore Esports, they had the NALCS summer split, which for the 1-2 was completely sold out. So I mean, now it's coming more and more to the forefront. Like it's not just Korea and China anymore. And even when we're down Madison Square Gardens for the NALCS, or sorry, I guess the World Championship semifinals. I mean, 20,000 people at MSG, a historic building, and all the ushers and stuff asking me, you know, what's going on? Why are they cheering right now? What's this dragon thing? Like, I guess it's coming to the forefront now, but it's becoming more and more commonplace. Are you starting to see that as well?
Yeah, it's definitely getting close. Like even my mom, she would just be like, you know, what's your, like her coworkers say like, what's your son doing, right? And she's like, oh, he plays games professionally. And then her coworkers are saying like, yeah, you know, I've seen that before. I kind of get what you're saying, right? So it is getting there. It is, yeah.
So let's talk a bit more about your parents. What do they think of what you do?
So to start off, in the articles, it does say parents, but if I'm going to be honest, I was actually raised by my mother only. So I'm just saying this. Yeah. So like, it was hard. But yeah, she wanted the best for me. It was a hard idea to wrap her head around, like raising me on her own, you know, so it was, I mean, obviously I kind of understand where she was coming from, like stopping me, or not stopping me, but like trying to make it hard. You know, you got to focus on school and stuff like that. So
now, what tactics did she actually take? Because I know in talking to Afro Moo, he said that, you know, his internet got disconnected, and I know my parents, and what they do is they just pull the plug, and I could easily plug it back in. But his father was like a commuter guy who was like blocking his MAC address and stuff from getting on the router. What lengths did your mom actually take to?
So my mom actually like, she would take the modem and then take it with her to work. So, so there was
commitment.
There was no way of me getting back on the internet. I didn't have any data on my phone, so I couldn't, you know, hotspot my PC or whatever.
Oh,
that's a lot of.
That would have cost so much money so fast too.
Yeah, could have hurt your career too with the bad ping.
Especially in this country too, man. Mobile data that would be expensive.
But you found a way to make it work. I mean, I read some stuff about you doing visualizations on the bus and stuff like that. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so whenever I actually couldn't play on my PC, I would do anything I could to get better at the game, whether that would be, you know, downloading pictures of the maps, and then on my way back home from school, I would actually just like look at my phone and look at the map and just basically like visualize, you know, what's a good way of attacking on point A or capturing, you know, the third phase of a map. And I would actually like take notes on that, and then if I see like my team in a situation like that, I can relate it to my team and saying like, hey, you know, we're gonna do this, right? I visualized it. I saw, let's try it. So.
And so this strategy of visualization and stuff like that, like where did you come up with that? Is this through VODs? Is this through cadet training? Like where'd you come up with this?
You know what? Like I just said, like, how am I going to get better at the game? How am I going to get that edge, right? And it just came out of nowhere, right? So
I'm going to go ahead and guess that your mom doesn't take the modem to work anymore.
No.
What changed? Like what made her see the light?
Well, it's my job now, right? She understands that, so she can't really, take the modem, go to work, and expect me not to work because it's my job.
And you got that job like modemless at some points, probably, right? That's the most amazing part. You tried out, you were good enough, even when your mom was taking the modem to work.
Yeah, I'm actually so grateful for what she did, because if I didn't have those obstacles put in front of me, I wouldn't have worked as hard as I did.
Yeah, and I guess like on the other hand is that your mom's heart was in the right place, and right?
Yeah.
Find me a mom who doesn't say focus on school, right? Like that's what you gotta say.
Yeah.
And I think that's what must have been one of the hard parts for you, right? To explain to her how good you were at the game without having a job already, right? Like I imagine once I have a contract with Immortals, that makes sense. But before then, it's like, show me how you're going to turn this into a job, right? Like, was that a challenge for you?
Well, again, I was basically providing zero results, no evidence on how this was going to go forward. And I'm going to be honest, like nothing was happening. I was getting no money. I was getting no results. I can't really blame her, right? She said, what are you going to get out of this? You're wasting your time, right? You could be doing school. You can be getting your grades up, getting into a better university. And then out of nowhere, just the Immortals trial came out, and I got the spot, and then she saw, the salary, the contract, and then it was like, okay, this is legit.
Did that hurt your relationship with your mom at all?
Yeah, huge. Yeah. We were very distant for the majority of my high school, so 4 years. It was just like she came home, I would help her cook, and then that was it. And then we wouldn't speak, and then I would go upstairs, play, and that was it. Like it was very cutthroat, like hi bye, and that was it.
And how's it now?
It's a lot better. Yeah, 100%. I actually, like, if we didn't go through that phase, we probably wouldn't be close as we are now.
And Mother's Day coming up. Shout out to my mom soon for a happy Mother's Day. I love her to pieces, man. Any special plans or anything? Is it like a bigger deal now where, I guess, I feel like if you battle any sort of adversity, especially something as big as this, I guess you become better because of it. Anything special for this year's Mother's Day?
I don't know yet, to be honest.
Give it away on air.
What?
Like, it's gotta
he
be
could be
surprise.
like, yeah, man, love her to pieces. Gonna do anything. Special shout out.
Hey, man, shout outs to my mom, too, for bringing dinner up when I was playing StarCraft Brood War all night.
No, not
and
for
I
StarCraft.
wasn't even good, and there was no chance that I was going to be on any kind of team. So.
See, I also had my MAC address banned.
Really?
Yeah, and thankfully I had a network card that you could change your MAC address.
Sneaky.
So I just chose one of the approved ones,
Yeah.
and that's how I got my fix.
See, I think just like Verbo was saying, like when you start to get like battle adversity, you find other ways to make it work, and that makes you stronger. And same thing, like I know, I guess like the relationship could have been rocky at times, but any pioneer who wants to do something different, 17 years old now, one of the top supports in Overwatch professionally. I mean, as a pioneer, you've got to leave a small path of destruction, but as long as you've got a good relationship now, I think that's amazing. And thinking back on, I guess when you were growing up, did you say like Overwatch, people can't see you physically go out there and do the things and see how good you are. Did you grow up playing any sports that, you could sort of like measure your physical ability and people could see it?
I mean, I live in Canada, right? So I played hockey. Played a bunch of hockey.
You don't have that sick flow, though. Couldn't tell.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Lucio skates playing hockey.
That's right.
You kind of see the relation.
He's got a hockey skin. He's got 2 hockey skins.
So I guess like I grew up playing hockey too as well, and the thing is when you get out on the ice and you don't need to tell people that, hey, I'm doing a good job at this, I'm being scouted by pros. People can see it in your play, but I definitely see a big roadblock with the esports thing is that you're in solo queue, you're getting your rank up, you're doing whatever, but people can't actually see how good you are. And just like so many other people, you play video games, and it's hard to break, I guess, that stigma of the lazy guy who sleeps in his mom's basement versus successful pro.
Well, like take a look at the role I play. Right, I play Lucio, and all Lucios on teams are shot callers. I was never known for my mechanics, right? Like what Lucio's known for their mechanics. I was known for my shot calling, my communication, and like that's a lot harder to get recognized on stream, right? Like who's hearing the comms of teams, right? Like you're just not hearing that. Yeah. So the way I got recognized was word of mouth, and Immortals, they wanted a VOD of me, so I sent them the VOD, and then they heard my communication. They're like, okay, this is our guy.
So I actually want to talk about Lucio a little bit since you mentioned it. He was just recently changed pretty substantially, and I wanted to just get your opinion on how he was before the change and then how you're enjoying playing Lucio after the change.
So before the patch, if you wanted to be an aggressive Lucio, like you were limited by a big, huge margin. Like you had no damage, no projectile speed, no movement speed. I mean, you did, but you'd have to use your amp it up to get out of like sticky situations, right? But now he has a lot more movement speed. You can be aggressive. You know, you can get in, do damage across the board, and then get out like really quickly, and then go help your team. So I really like the new changes.
Yeah, great. So I guess I want to ask a little bit about your recent trip to the Immortals team house. So if I understand correctly, you're not currently like living in a team house, but you had a chance to go out to the League of Legends house in LA. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so like, what did you guys do when you were there? Was that like essentially a boot camp? And how did you find that? Is team house life based on those 2 weeks something that you'd be interested in having for your team?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've actually never been together as six. Whether that was like going to a LAN or even in the boot camp, right? Agilities wasn't there. The reason for the boot camp was to basically set a routine for each of us so we can stick to it. Whether that was, waking up in the morning, going for doing a workout, and then, eating breakfast together, going online, doing like a little warm up before scrims, and then scrimming, and then we go out for dinner. I really like, being in a team house. It builds a whole new atmosphere, gets the team like on a whole new level. So.
Okay.
And what's Immortals' take on girlfriends?
I don't know yet. All
right, I didn't know if he's calling the shots on that too. Listen, it's team by team basis.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I guess the other thing I wanted to ask you about is that obviously the voting for the Overwatch World Cup committees has opened, and full disclosure, I'm potentially one of the Canadian. I'm not gonna get it. I'm not hyped about getting it or anything. But anyways, I wanted to ask what your thoughts were, because you are Canadian and you could be potentially selected for the Canadian team. So is that something you're interested in doing? And like, what would it mean to you to represent Canada?
Yeah, of course. Like, I would definitely love to go to the World Cup. I mean, if the committee gets chosen and the committee decides to choose me as their Lucio, I mean, I'd love to represent Canada. The World Cup's also a good, I guess you can say, like taste of what the Overwatch League is going to be like, because you see how Blizzard's going to treat the players, how they're going to accommodate people, how the kind of the format's going to work. So I just like the World Cup. Even last year, I was like, damn, I really want to go here. And now that it's actually a reality, I can actually get voted in. It's surreal. Yeah.
This is a fucking exciting time for esports, man. Like, so there's world championships, there's more viewers than traditional sports right now, and in the Asia Games, there's going to be an esports thing for actual medals and stuff. And I know, like, my younger brother growing up was playing rugby, and now to see the rugby in the Olympics, it's like, that could have been a dream to be an Olympic athlete. Now, I guess Blizzard's looking at the World Cup, and if we're looking globally at like esports in the Olympics, I don't think it's crazy to think in 10 years that you could be an Olympic athlete. Yeah. And I think that's absolutely fucking incredible and so exciting, man.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the World Cup too, and I think what you've told us so far about your leadership style is a really exciting thing potentially for Team Canada, because I feel like the first year there were a lot of teams that unfortunately kind of phoned it in a little bit. And I get the mentality. I get why. I think a lot of teams are hungrier this year, especially after what South Korea did to everybody at that tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really, really interesting. Speaking of Korea, obviously we have Apex going on, and Immortals was not one of the teams that received an invite from the West. So I guess I want to get your perspective on that. Firstly, do you feel that your team would be ready to compete in Apex? And do you feel like you should have received an invite?
So something to kind of release is we actually did get invited.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but we declined it. Reason being is because we basically felt like that we weren't ready. Like when you go to Korea, you have to really commit to it. We were told that if we were to go, we would have to be there by April 21st. and we would leave like minimum by end of June, and then and like even if we made playoffs, we'd be there even longer, right? So it's like it's a huge commitment, complete change in culture. I mean, we're all from North America. It's pretty difficult to like commit yourself to that. So we felt like as a team we weren't ready as of yet, and we still need to work on some internal problems before we actually like go out and take those steps.
I think that's a pretty enlightened philosophy though, because I could see an alternate universe where you guys are like hell yeah, let's go to Korea.
Yeah.
You go there and it's like you're away from home. You're in this country that you're maybe not comfortable in totally. Like it takes time, and like even when I see pros coming back who are used to traveling, who have esports careers behind them. If you look at even like Envious, those guys all seem pretty happy when they come back from Korea. Not because they dislike the country, but just because you've been there for so long and you just want to get home. You just want to get back to your own bed. And that's a pretty cool way of looking at it, honestly, because I feel like a lot of teams would have just jumped on that and been like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, well, like if you take a look at it, right? Like look at all the North American teams that went to Korea, right? They've lost at least one member, right? Every single team that's been to Apex has lost someone, or the team is broken up. We weren't ready for that. I mean, we didn't have doubts like saying like, okay, we're gonna go to Apex, we're gonna break up. Like that wasn't the intent. That wasn't the intention, or we didn't think that was gonna happen. But we still think we need to build and strengthen our inner issues right now before we actually go.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a test for any team to go to that tournament. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me.
And I mean, you've talked before about homesickness as well. And was that earlier on, or is that still an issue?
I don't think it was homesick. I think it was probably burnout. That was because we took a break after the NGE tournament because we were we were grinding. We were doing 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. Yeah. We played in multiple tournaments. We didn't have a break, so we felt like we needed a break. If we kept continuing on with no break, I mean, we would have probably went on a decline. So that break to kind of recharge, get your energy back, and then go back into it is needed.
And so in terms of like just workload and feeling burnout and stuff like that, is that something that you talk amongst your teammates? Is that something that you're very open with the coach, or is that sort of like you as the shot caller, sort of like the captain of the team, maybe, who's like speaking up and talking to management? How does that work?
It was the whole team, right? Like the whole team came to a consensus that we needed a break. We reached out to the org saying, hey, we needed like at least a break before we continue on, and the org offered that to us, and we're grateful for it.
And do you feel completely safe, completely like open with that stuff, or did you feel a little on edge that it might come back and say, no, listen, guys, this is the very beginning. You guys gotta grind and work.
No, we had no doubts that the org wasn't gonna like we knew the org was gonna give us a break for sure. Right?
Yeah. One thing, I mean, it's the glowing reputation of Immortals, and on top of that, I mean, we hear about it all the time now, burnout, right? And we even had yesterday we had Semler, CS:GO caster, who was saying that back in the early days, it was like you just burn and burn while the getting's good, and you know that everything that comes your way you've got to take. But now that esports is going in more of a balanced I guess place, and it's more about professionalism, and the Immortals with the holistic diversify your worth stuff. I think it's come a long way, and I think it's a great time for Overwatch to break into the scene and try to hold that balance, as well as maybe institute a Overwatch league that is city by city. Is that going to happen?
They say Q3. They say they're on track for Q3.
But what do we know? What cities? Is it going to be a global thing? Is it going to be by regions? Do we know much? Or maybe you got NDAs over there, do you?
I haven't signed any NDAs. Yeah. What do you? Don't look at me. I don't sign NDAs on a regular basis. What? No. I think. I mean, obviously they've talked about city locating teams, and it's interesting. I think it's an interesting idea. We've seen it before, and it hasn't worked, but there seems to be a lot of interest in the Overwatch League. And actually, speaking of that league, I want to ask you, Verbo, what is the feeling like in the West right now in terms of getting like tournaments and stuff? Like, I think I just heard that one of the recurring tournament series in North America is actually going to be done.
Yeah, the monthly melee.
Monthly melee. Yeah. So what is it? Because it seems like everybody's just poised and waiting for Overwatch League, but like it isn't here yet. So in this meantime, we have this sort of what seems like a drought to me.
So some big issues right now in the West is, I mean, there's a lot of online tournaments happening right now. They're kind of lowered. I mean, they've declined. There's not too many right now. But in terms of like LAN tournaments and offline, those are like non-apparent, right? Like the last one was, I think it was NGE, or I think there was one more after that. I can't remember, but Yeah, there hasn't been any LAN tournaments. Everyone's kind of, sitting ducks right now. They're waiting for the Overwatch League. Nobody knows exactly what to do because there's not enough information out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone's hands are tied right now.
Like, there's even the talk about the player combine and what does that mean? Like, how is that going to work? People have speculated that there'll be like almost like a draft. I don't know. There's no good information on that, so it is speculation. But to me, it seems weird because there are so many teams, like your team is a good example, where you have that chemistry already baked in, and that's not something one player can necessarily just take to another team, right?
No,
like,
clearly, like Verbo's saying, like it takes a lot of time, a lot of work, and even when it came to like a Korean boot camp, like they had to think about it, and they figured that they're not quite ready yet. To build team chemistry, I mean, properly takes time, and you've got to battle adversity, and you've got to grow together. And I think that there are certain cases, in regular sports and in esports where you get a super team that's bought, and sometimes it works, but I would think, and I would argue that most times it doesn't when you just rely purely on talent. And that's what I don't know much about this Overwatch League, but it seems like it's going like a bunch on the rankings, and if you can get your rankings up, you might make like the Team Canada World Cup. I don't know if it's going to be like a representative team.
Well, the league is separate from
yes,
the World Cup,
of course.
so.
But if I can jump to World Cup, in terms of okay, how they're going to select who's going to be on there, is it just based on their rank, or is it based on like a team chemistry?
So what happened is essentially the top 32 teams, the top 32 countries in terms of total ranking points of top 100 players. That's how we determine what countries are going to be in it. Those countries have been determined for a while. Now Blizzard put a list of 10 committee members that you can vote for if you are in that country. So Canadians vote for the Canadian committee, and then the top 3 committee members elected will choose the team. So they will select the team. So it's different from last year. Last year, you voted specifically for who you wanted on the team.
Yes, yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily create a good team, unfortunately, right? It's just voting, right? So it doesn't. The chemistry isn't taken into account in that situation. And so the idea is you elect a committee. That committee is going to hopefully come up with a team that works together. And thankfully for our country, we already have like a lot of players who have played together and have some existing chemistry. So we probably shouldn't be hurting too badly for that, but there's definitely, and then there's teams like France, which could just take like Rogue, right?
Yeah.
Like they could just pick up all of Rogue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But other countries have issues in the sense that there isn't as much chemistry, and how do you build that in the short period of time when you're going to have scrims for your actual team, right? Like that was the issue last year, is where do you find time?
I guess that's the same issue with World Cup of hockey and stuff like that too,
Yeah.
right? I guess it's the same sort of thing. It's a high level of play, but sometimes that chemistry is lacking.
And that's why they sometimes just bake that chemistry in, right? Like in our Olympic team, we have, Getzlaff and Perry on the same line. It just makes sense. They play together all the time, right?
So we talked a little bit about the potential future of Overwatch, but what about your future? You are nearly complete high school, I would guess, right?
Yeah, I got a few more courses to go.
A few more courses to go, so maybe by like September, or would you still be in high school at that time?
It all depends. Like online school, you can kind of take it at your own pace. So
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
So after that, let's just say you finish up pretty soon. Any plans to go post-secondary, or is it full steam ahead with Overwatch and Immortals?
No, I definitely want to go full steam ahead with Overwatch, Immortals for sure. I want to see how far I can get in Overwatch. But I do have plans after to further myself into business. I want to start my own LAN center where I can teach aspiring pros on how to get where I am right now.
Wow, that's really cool.
I find that really interesting too, because so I was trying to work on a story about how there isn't, like, esports is not funded by the federal government, whereas there is funding for amateur sports.
Yeah, a lot of funding too.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. And one of the things I thought was really interesting is they told me, if you want funding for like amateur esports, you need to have a structure. There needs to be some kind of like governing body for esports in Canada, and there isn't, right?
Maybe, but even so, I'm from Newfoundland, and there's the provincial Powerplex where they get provincial athletes that go in there and they work with trainers and stuff like that to get better. Why couldn't there? And maybe there should be. Maybe it just needs to be one voice, like a Verbo, like someone to take this on and get the funding for, or even just get esports athletes to avail of these services. Because as you're saying, like working out, like keeping your body healthy, eating right, that's all a big part of this holistic approach to being pro.
It's interesting that you say that because I actually have before I got the job on Immortals, I actually was a swim instructor. So I taught kids from the ages of like 3 to 9, or I think it was 10, on how to swim, right? So I have the background in teaching. That's why I saw interest in that. So
Now, let's zoom in a little bit here. We're kind of talking about a lot of hypotheticals, a lot of overarching stuff. Let's go to this game called Overwatch, which let's talk a little bit about that.
Here it comes.
Hey, not yet, not yet. I'm gonna ask advice from Nepal in a minute, but give me your opinion. Who needs to get nerfed? Who needs to get buffed? What's the state of the game right now?
okay, who needs to get nerfed? Probably Tracer. I think
Ooh.
I think Tracer has a really high skill cap. She just has way too much mobility right now. Also, as much as I would hate to say it, I think Lucio does need a nerf as well. Yeah,
An honest man.
Yeah.
Verbo's just like, I'm too good. You gotta cool me down over here.
Actually, quickly want to ask before we move on. What is the what do you think the matchups for Lucio are in a 1v1 duel? Like, what do you feel comfortable taking, and what do you feel uncomfortable taking in like a 1v1 Lucio versus something else situation?
See, like that's the thing. Like Lucio, you can basically outmaneuver almost like any character. I'd say probably Winston's the hardest, and obviously Fair. Like, what are you gonna do against Fair, right?
Yeah.
But Tracer, Tracer. I mean, like if she's gonna get in your backline, if you need to peel for your Ana or your Zen, like you can do that really easily. Even who's some other, like even Genji, right? Genji's pretty easy to I guess peel for or peel against. So
Okay.
So what about the buff? Who needs the buff?
who needs the buff? Probably either like in terms of supports, probably Mercy. I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does she need more in her toolkit then? Like maybe more DPS options or
No.
like no?
I wouldn't say DPS. Probably if she can increase damage more, like her damage increases probably would be better. Maybe healing per second too.
Yeah, fair enough.
I would boost her damage because that that's how I play Mercy. I'm getting those headshots. You die me as a Genji, I'm gonna 1v1 you.
I don't
No
play
questions.
Mercy, man. I don't know. I'm about that Soldier 76 life, basic.
Oh, man.
Pleb. Yeah. You know what? It's just like I'll play Pharah. I will play the hell out of Diva, but I'm always
no.
comfortable as Soldier, which is so strange because he's like so basic. But I really do enjoy him, guys.
What's basic about him?
Well, I mean, that's his whole shtick, right? He's like supposed to
He's
be
just
like
well-rounded. That doesn't mean he's basic, does it?
I mean, he's not like a lot of the characters in Overwatch are like flamboyant in both like their aesthetic and their kit, what they can do, right?
You're saying old people aren't flamboyant? Is this an ageist thing that I'm hearing from you?
I am an old person, so I identify with Soldier. Okay,
That's the problem. Right
I'm
there.
an old person, so I identify with Reinhardt because he's like on
He
this
is
team.
also old, yes.
He's on this team.
Fucking
thank
prove
you.
it!
Here we go. He's
Yeah.
on this team with all these young people, but he has to still try and be cool, right? So he's always like cracking jokes. He's like your dad,
so
basically.
you in the office.
Yes, exactly. That's
essentially.
me. 100% that's me.
Okay. Now, I want. Speaking of my terrible pickup game, I want some tips from you, okay? Because
Pro tips.
I need tips.
I'm
desperate for tips.
We're doing a new segment here called Pro Tips.
pro tips for Colin.
It's called Desperate for Tips.
I
is what it's
can't
called.
win Nepal. The one where there's the stage in the middle and it's surrounded by like a gap. You know that one?
Is that Sanctum?
Is it Sanctum? I don't even.
The inside map, or is it
The-
inside
the
or
inside,
outside?
the inside
Oh, the
map,
inside.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's Sanctum. Yeah.
Okay, so I play Soldier, Diva, and Pharah. Can I win this map with one of those three?
What? This is like asking Wayne Gretzky had a stick handle, man.
Yeah. Who better to ask?
You're giving me little to work with here.
Okay.
You haven't even told them what your common issues are.
Now
like
comes
bad
Verbo's
matchups.
favorite part of the team, the cuts. Colin's cut.
Give it to me straight, coach.
He couldn't be on the team. I think he has a girlfriend. So you're cut automatically.
Yeah, you're already cut.
I even
You're already cut.
live with her, man. So team house, it's not gonna
Oh,
happen.
dude, that's
She can't move in
That's
with you,
no
man.
go.
Rip.
So cut.
Rip.
All
She
right.
interrupted my Dota game last night.
Definitely cut.
Wait, she's cut or you're cut? I didn't.
I'm out. I'm out.
Oh, you're out.
I'm gonna take one for the team. But seriously, how can I win that Nepal map? I'm like dead serious. I can't win this map.
do you want help with how to
Okay.
do the dishes and
All
stuff
right.
too, or swimming instruction? He'll help you after.
Basically with the map, it's not like I guess it's not like what you play, but it's how you like. If you have the point, it's how you're defending. It's how you're keeping it, right?
I want to take the point.
You want to take the point. Okay, so if the enemy team's like holding close, holding that room with the mega pack,
Yeah.
it's really hard to work your way in. So what you got to do is you got to split up, whether that's like a 3-3 split, 4-2 split, anything like that, just to like deviate the team to one side, and then the other side can get in for free, and then you can like create distraction and stuff like that.
So essentially, you need to be coordinated.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
the problem with this is it sounds like basic levels of communication are involved, which in quick play I have found to be not a thing.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time when I get in voice chat, there's just somebody blasting like "Danger Zone" by Kenny Loggins into voice
that's
chat,
sick.
and it doesn't.
You just gave me
Well,
a
it
great
does-
idea.
Oh my god! It doesn't help you play the game. is what I'm trying
That
to say.
game plan right there was just a taste of the professionalism that exists in the shot calling over here. He's talking about 4-2s,
Yeah, you know,
3-3s.
He's actually
split
trying
up.
to give you
He's-
valid advice,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's like none of it is
It's
going to
all
help
it's,
you.
it's all over
Unfortunately.
Colin's head. It's just too bad.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Now, speaking of shot calling, as you said before, you are 17 years old. You're completing high school. All of the members on your team, I presume, are older than you. You said like 23, 25, 20, around there.
So you got Grim and Agilities are also 17.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, half the team's 17. Hyped is 26, as well as Nomi, and then Ethan's 22.
So you're as old or younger than all of the team. You're also younger than the CEO of your org. What is that situation like when you're calling the shots and you're telling like a 23-year-old what to do? Is there any awkwardness there at all?
At first, when I first made my team, like, because I made 2 teams, I made one in February and then one in August.
Mm-hmm.
So it was awkward at first, but I just powered through it. I was just like, you know what, whatever. If someone's gonna judge me on every move that I make, like because of my age, so be it, right? But maturity does differ. Like whether you're 15, 25, doesn't matter, right?
It's very true. And
So-
you seem
so-
to have your head on your shoulders.
Yeah, so how did you overcome that obstacle? Like, did you just go for it? Just say, fuck it, I'm just being me, 100%.
Oh,
These guys are big shots pros, IMT guys. Like, it had to be intimidating, but you just said, fuck it, I'm just going to do it?
Oh, I just ate the shots, man. Like, like, oh, dude, this is wrong. Like, no, that's not right. Or you're 17, like you're so young, you don't know anything. Like, I just ate the shots, whatever. I took it in, stuck with it.
Damn.
Eventually, like adapted to what was happening, and then went from there.
Did it take a while to gain respect?
Yes.
Yeah?
It did. Yeah, well, because like if I'm younger, automatically the respect's just lost.
You're at a deficit,
depending on the
yeah.
person, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to earn it. You got to earn it right away.
That's true.
It's interesting too because we're talking about the Overwatch scene, and there are some players who have been playing other games like Team Fortress or Quake or whatnot, who are kind of like Cooler was an example when he was. I mean, he's kind of like I think some people might call him a legend, honestly, in other games, and he's a little bit older. So it seems like there is this crazy age range.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got like 17 to like late 20s. I think actually I don't even want to guess Cooler's age. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
I wouldn't know either.
Yeah, no, but he's up there.
Yeah, for
he's
sure.
up there. So it's interesting to me because you're starting young, and we've seen in like Counter-Strike, you can have a long career.
It's one of the things I love the most about that game, yeah.
So maybe Overwatch goes that route too. That would be
Man,
really
I would
interesting.
love that for pros not to have like 3-year careers. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, to have like a 13-year career and be 30 and calling the shots on Lucio.
Hell
like-
13 years of Lucio. How's that
Oh
sound?
man, that's I don't even know.
That's the dream, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as they keep buffing him to be a better duelist every patch, then you can no problem.
No pressure, right?
Yeah.
Who do you play, Josh? I forget. Play
no.
Lucio? Do you play Lucio?
Don't look at my profile.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
I mostly play supports and I play Reinhardt. Because
Oh, yeah.
I always get on a team and everybody insta-locks Genji and Hanzo, and I'm like
This is
Nothing
our
new.
life.
So
Yeah.
I play Rectangle Man a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rectangle Man.
All
is
this
one of
chat
my-
and all this stuff, like, it's got to be so exciting for you to break into I guess, what I would call the coolest game to come out recently. And obviously, one of the biggest sellers last year, and really like a pioneer for what's going to push this esports thing. And the Reddit is
Well, I
huge,
mean,
the fans are huge.
Slow your roll
Maybe.
a little bit,
I know,
Ryan. Like,
I know.
You're counting a lot of
But
chickens
li-
before they're hatched.
Of course. But in terms of the scope of what they're thinking can happen, I mean,
Yeah.
fuck you. This is the coolest game on the go right now. And you're a pro in it. You must get like people on the street and stuff like that come up to you. Is that happening yet?
No.
No?
None of that.
Not yet?
No.
But I imagine if you tell
Right.
people that you play Overwatch, like you're like, I play Overwatch competitively, I imagine that there are probably a decent number of people who know what Overwatch is now.
I mean, yeah, they do. I mean, that game was like advertised like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like when it was first coming out, you'd be watching basketball and an Overwatch commercial would come up. It was like, what is that doing there?
Yeah.
I think that's the most promising thing about the game. I totally disagree with Ryan about how it's like the supposed like end all and be all of esports.
could be.
It could be. Thank you for inserting that. However, the best thing about Overwatch is it does have that massive casual player base. Right, and you like I do think you necessarily need that for it to have longevity, because we've seen some esports before that they have a sick pro scene, but nobody plays them. Whoa, what's that death stare?
I felt like that was coming from one of my games.
Oh, it totally wasn't. Not at
Okay.
all. Not at all. Games that shall not be named. But I think that really
I just felt like you were going to say the words "Heroes of the Storm" to me. And
no,
I
Heroes
thought,
of the Storm is the opposite. It has tons of people play it. They love it. But I mean, pro scene, right?
There are tons of people playing it right now. But anyways,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
digress. I thought you were going to
digress.
attack me. I felt very, very like vulnerable.
You don't have to
for a
get your
moment.
Reinhardt shield up for me, my man.
Yeah, sorry. I'm always rectangle man inside.
Yeah.
And sometimes it leaves me.
So before we let you go, Verbo, I just wanted to hear a little bit of your thoughts regarding Immortals as an organization. You sort of said before that they treated you really well, and you see yourself having a future with this org. What's it like working for them?
Well, like working for Immortals, they're really big on taking care of the players.
Okay.
Whether that's like peak performance, taking care of our health in terms of that. So like eating healthy, like when we were there, my diet was insane. Like we would have, it was like chicken, kale, and quinoa, right? Like it was like really good
Damn.
meals. Yeah, like very nutritious. Even like encouraging us to go out and work out. It's just like really good. They really take care of us.
So no Doritos and Mountain Dew, no Diva diet.
Oh, that's banned from the house. No.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Is it actually banned?
No soda. Like that's like not.
What else is banned?
I don't know. All I know is like
Is there a document? Is there a banned list?
I need a ban list.
Yeah.
Yeah, no soda. If you bring soda into the house, like it's down the drain. Right
Yo,
away.
you walk into the Immortals team house with your girlfriend and your Doritos, you're out,
You're
man.
out,
You're
dude.
done. Headshotted. All right. Is there any shout outs you want to give? Anyone you want to say hi to?
Yeah, shout outs to Immortals as the organization. Shout out to my teammates. I mean, they're awesome. I wouldn't be here without them. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to my schoolmate or people at school. Shout out to my past teammates.
Nice, sick, man. Well, once again, thanks so much for coming in. It was a real pleasure, especially having you in studio.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
It's a good thing you remembered his name this time. It's great.
Oh God, you'll never let me live that down. The one time I forgot a guest, and by the way, I never forgot anyone's name. It was the org. It was the org.
I'm just happy that he didn't make any more Lucio references.
Yeah, or
I made
bad,
one. I limited myself to one.
or
okay?
bad puns.
You said you were going to do more, but you didn't. So
No, it's true. I was gonna. I actually. Oh, that was off air. That's right. I was gonna do some Farah lines, but I decided not to. Yeah.
I'm killing your mic, brother. You're out of here.
Justice reigns from above.
Yeah, Verbo's getting out of here too.
Yeah, he's
Trying to
running
represent.
the hills.
Go Raps, everybody. Let's go Raps.